Your hosts are the Great Order and No White Guilt, and this is the After Party. The crown winner of last week is Quebec, who financially gifted $125. A big congratulations and thank you so very much, dear brother, for all of your service to White Wellbeing, a true champion. And second place, another champion, Elrondur, financially gifting $100. Thank you both so very much. Congratulations to you both so very much. Let's get a round of raucous emojis for these champions, ladies and gentlemen. Financially gift on Entropy at 15%, which will be up in a moment. You can also watch the stream and ask questions and vote on questions. And today is the day to do it because Jared and I are going to be facing you all and see what you all have to say about different events going on, anything you have to ask or gripes you might have. We're here. Our ears are open and we have responses. We're also going to be potentially inviting a few of you all on to speak briefly with us, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Those who have been long-time listeners or otherwise great champions in service to White Wellbeing, we want to hear your voice, and we want the community to hear you as well. Now, today, it's all about spotlighting you all. So get ready with your questions, your comments, your interests, your concerns, your objections. Mr. George and I are here, and we will be speaking directly to you. Dear brother, how are you doing?
We are here. We are here. I feel like it's I know there's an element of it, but it felt like one of those psychologist shows. Or if anyone ever watched the Frasier reruns that are still on, I'm listening.
We actually had a bit of yes, indeed. We actually had a bit of a moment there. The stream was not being picked up by YouTube, and I was wondering, okay, is this going to work? Are we going to have to restart? But eventually it did. So that's, thank the good Lord. I see the great Iberian Rider is with us, and big hello to you. Great to see you, good brother. And American Chestnut, Lala Song is with us. A new member of the community in service to White Wellbeing after our dust up with some other no-named person. And great to see you. Thank you for being here with us. Tanya and The Watcher. And there's sweet dear lady Carlisle Cockatoo is with us. JK160 is also here. And who else do we have here with us? Lala Song says, sup in response. 00 is here, says, still at work on this Sunday. Dr. Dinger and great Franklin Peanut is here. Great to see you. Crimson Wolf. That's a pretty cool name, isn't it, Jared? Crimson Wolf. And Mr. Cat Fookers.
Crimson Wolf is that's a new one to me.
I don't think I recognize it either. Well, welcome if you're new. If you're not new, welcome to you.
Sometimes people hang out before they start participating in the chat.
Indeed. And there, Julie Storm is with us. Hello to you. And so is Vim is with us. 0022. Hello to you and welcome. Great to see you all, folks. Let me see this chat.
I'm seeing some heated, pardon the pun, discussion in the chat about seasons.
About seasons.
Some people not liking summer. I guess it depends where you are.
Well, we did just enter autumn.
We did just enter autumn. It's true. We had a run. I don't know if anyone knows this bit of tap history, but totally unplanned by Jason and I, purely coincidental. We had a run in the early days in 2018, and I think it lasted all into 2019 as well, where we'd often have like a special show with a big guest, and it would land right on the equinox or the solstice.
That's right.
It was weird. It was like 8 or 9 of 10 in a row were on solstices and equinoxes. And I remember saying to you, I'm not planning this, but we booked so-and-so and it's next Thursday and that happens to be the equinox but we didn't do that this week. We're off our game with that. It was an eventful, I guess, equinox, and now we're in fall, but it's still mild. I kind of like, I don't know, I like the sun. I'm not anti-summer. I know that might put me in the minority in some of these circles, but I could understand if you live in an extremely humid place. So
Yeah.
it depends where you are. But summer means, sun, beach, lake. If you're
Yeah.
driving at night and you got stuck on the side of the road and it's winter, you could be in a real trouble. If it's summer, at least, if your car's not running, you could sit there with the windows open. It's a little
There's a lot of
lighter, a
truth.
little easier. But in all truth, we've talked about this before. I love all the nuances of all the different seasons, and we're grateful for all of them.
Oh, without question. Yeah, I'm happy that the summer here in DC has been pretty humid, pretty hot. So we're finally having a break in the humidity and the heat. In fact, right now it is 76 degrees Fahrenheit, which is magnificent break from the 80-degree temperatures, 80 to 90s that the summer has been. And with my thermometer over there recorded a temperature, not heat index, but a temperature of 101. So it was at least 101 at some point during the summer. Heat index was probably 107 or 8. So brutal.
I
But
think that would be for our Celsius friends in the 40s, if I'm not mistaken. For our friends in England, anyone else in Europe
right,
listening,
right.
would do a little conversion.
So they
Sorry
would.
about that. Sorry about that, chaps. That we're on Fahrenheit over here on this side of the pond.
But yeah, it's so nice out today. Nothing but blue skies, white clouds, cumulus clouds. It's puffy. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day.
So Lala Song has a question. Looks like, can you explain to me why Virginians and people from the DC area go the speed limit? They're the slowest drivers I have ever seen in my entire life. Well, you definitely have not seen me out on the road. I zip through them. In Washington, D.C., and in Maryland, just where they come together, there are an abundance of speed cameras, and they're just about everywhere. And the reason why, of course, is because they're running out of tax cattle to continue to bleed for their anti-white agenda. So they have to get it from someplace else. And one of the places they get it is from speed cameras. So it's like being robbed by, like you go into a town. It reminds me occasionally. It's very strange. I'll be driving through the district, and just you have these roads where you could be going easily 20 miles an hour faster, and you would be very safe. It's totally safe. And I have this sensation from time to time that this is like the old West almost, where you just don't go to that town there because there are highwaymen there that will rob you and they will take everything. And that's what Washington, D.C. is like. There are highwaymen there. They will rob you. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons. And then, of course, there's very strict laws, Lala Song, in Virginia near the Beltway there. They're getting people because they got people. There are people there. The cops are out. They got people there with lots of money. And so a lot of tickets. And that's why you end up with people driving so slowly. And then you have people like me driving like bat out of hell.
Well, I'm sure you're, in general, a law-abiding citizen.
I am a law-abiding. Everybody else is going below the speed limit. I am going exactly the speed limit.
So you're making up for it.
That's what I'm doing there. Well, especially where all of those cameras are. Didn't used to be that way. I remember working on the Hill, and I would go in early so that I could get off at 2. And because the traffic rush hour started 2, run until about 6 or 7. So you'd have to get from DC to out into Virginia as quickly as I could, because every second it was like exponentially getting worse, the traffic.
What was early? What times did you have to be in?
Oh boy. Well, it depended on what we were doing. I mean, it could be for that job, checking in at 6 a.m. Was as far as a white collar job goes, that was pretty early. And then very often working through lunch as well. But Yeah, I would head down Constitution Avenue, right in front of the White House, flying, absolutely flying. And I would laugh because, you know, they have cameras everywhere, but back then there weren't speed cameras. So I knew like Secret Service was watching, and they're thinking, oh my God, there goes that crazy guy in that beat up old car. But it was fun. Zip by the White House, hauling ass. I wonder how many times the Bushes looked out the window and thought the same thing. There he goes again. We can tell because we can hear that four-banger straining to get down the highway.
So yeah, it's Escape from DC. I know a lot of people do. You see people rushing to get out of the city metropolitan area before the real traffic begins. That's that's something about city life. We've talked about these different debates too, urban versus rural and all that. And I know what the talking points are, but I still assert that cities as an idea, as such, are not all bad. But any modern city that in our countries where we're supposed to be, where we would have been developing more on the trajectory we had been on, would have been planning for these things better. Maybe the populations wouldn't be as big too. That's another element. But yeah, when you have that many people in that small of a space there, that's a quality of life thing. You can't have people sitting in traffic for 3-4 hours a day every day.
And they do it.
It's a time drain. It's stress. That's a terrible thing. And there has to be, we are capable of it. That's the frustrating thing. You know, we're capable of all these cities, and we imagine these like high-tech cities of flying cars and everything. We were promised all that, and we're still holding out for that. But
it never happened.
That's another story.
All those predictions of flying cars and everything.
Well, there are YouTube videos.
Those cars.
I saw some kind of flying car.
We didn't quite get it. Hard to have all of those advances and the tech that serves us rather than us serving the tech when you're under anti-white thraldom. I see that Nancy Drew has joined us, and Eternalism, great to see you.
Elaine is here. Hello, Elaine.
Elaine Sabatino. Oh, she is here.
Yeah.
Hello, sister. Great to see you. Summer Lee is here too. So, folks, if you would like to speak directly to Jared or I, either in the live chat or potentially on, I guess, potentially Skype, or also we could send you the link and you could show up here with us for 5 to 10 minutes or so. We'll have a chat. We're giving you all our attention today and want to speak directly to you. And we see that White Student Transmission is here. Great to see you. And Promethean Promulgation is here. And the great For Null has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. A great champion.
It's like those days at the end of school. Not that this is school. I mean, there's learning involved. We're all learning. But hopefully it's a little better than your school experience. But you know those days at the end of school where they were just days you had to be there. School year wasn't over yet, but the lessons were done. And so your teacher was just like, hey, like, let's talk about your day or what you're going to do this summer. It's like, you're in 6th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. And you're like, all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's weird. It's like I'm in school, but it doesn't feel like school because it's a little different today. So it's a little different today.
It is a little different today.
Have you come up to the front of the class and
we have Finalblossom has joined us. Finalblossom, if you would like to jump on the show with us for 5 or 10 minutes, say so, and we will send you the link. Same offer goes to Promethean Promulgation. Great champions. Speak up and tag us both.
We have to recognize you. You have to have some bit of a reputation if we're gonna get you on the airwaves.
Yeah, precisely. And what's going on in your part of the world, folks, by the way? Anything good, anything bad with the changing of seasons? Are the trees, the leaves changing where you live? Let me just roll through the chat. It leapt on me. I see little Nikki is here. Hello to you.
Hello.
And who else has joined us? We have some news stories as well to take a look at, folks. Do you have anything that you would like for us to take a look at while we are with you today? Promethean Promulgation says Greg Johnson and his panel just thanked and recognized you for popularizing anti-white. Did they really?
Very nice.
What? Who all is on the panel? Are they live now? Promethean Promulgation. That's fantastic. When they say you, the word you here, that represents our whole community, because it's not. It's definitely not me. I'm a guy in the line with everyone else here that's doing the true work, the real work for white well-being. And we're the ones making the difference. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Chili Glitter, hello to you. We could end up with some people wanting to have a bit of fun. And we will, of course, tolerate a bit, but
Chili Glitter, by the way, is great. That's a great handle.
Chili Glitter, yeah. Lala Song, let's see. Our federal rep decided to vote in favor for red flag laws. In fact, we saw, this is one of the news stories we have.
Yeah, this was something Jason was going to talk about.
So despite him being a vet and a Republican, shocker, right? Well, of course we know they're just anti-whites who call themselves Republicans. This is why it's best to understand the world through the lens of the concepts employed in Going Free of the anti-white narrative, because things become so much clearer when you have all of these different ideologies, socio-political ideologies, and you get into all this minutiae of the detritus, if you will, of the different elements, arguments, interpretations. It just ends up being nonsense, confusion, and you get nowhere. I tell you where you get nowhere, Jared. I spoke, and folks, if you don't know, I was on with Patrick Ryan. I was on the Patrick Ryan show, and I will probably post some, if not most, or all of that interview the other day. If you did not hear about it, it went swimmingly well, and we reached a great many of his listeners, and folks reached out and wrote to me. They were very happy with the interview. Never heard of us, never heard of White Wellbeing, and so now there are people out there with hope who didn't have hope before. I get many thousands of viewers. He was a former FM, AM radio, Sirius XM personality known as Dino, the sports guy. He's been on several Fox News shows, and I didn't know whether I would ever get an opportunity to speak again. And it was a last minute thing on his show. So he asked a question, and I took about 30 minutes to answer the first question. I was meant to be there for an hour. Yeah. And I took about 30 minutes, and I was.
I mean, look, man, this is what anyone has to do. Any musician will tell you that too. I have to, study the greats, and they say, when an interviewer asks you something, and it's a little different with, that kind of show that you were on, Jason, has a little more import than just an interview about someone's next album and something like that, and the tour. But basically, it's old wisdom. When an interviewer asks you a question, you just talk what you want. You say what you want to say. You talk about what you want to talk about. We know politicians do that as well. So sometimes it's not only with lighthearted stuff, but
they're masters of it, aren't they?
It's great. And I know I can speak for everyone here saying that we trust you to be in a situation like this, to when it's outreach to people who might have some similar ideas, but they're struggling with certain things, or they might be falling into an extreme or getting imbalanced and getting into some rhetoric that really is maybe hateful because they're angry, and the anger has to go somewhere. We understand that anger is a part of the spectrum of human emotions, and we've spoken about that here, and it's about how you understand it and funnel it and contextualize it, temper it with everything else. But people are waking up to things in their anger right now, and the kinds of things that we talk about here, the balanced perspective, it's self-regulating.
Mm-hmm.
It has legs like a stool, 3 legs, you need that stable structure. It has different perspectives, enough variation, different perspectives and balances so that it's a system that can be edifying for you and not have people go down these paths of darkness and hate and getting, you go from one extreme to another. I mean, we're called extreme. I realize that. I know the term extreme itself, a bit of a tangent, is it can be a messy word, but my perspective from when I began and when I was getting my own head right and getting straight on why I was going to step out and start being a public voice is that in a time of extreme imbalances, when you're actually in that zone, it's not a space, it's not like one line, but it's a zone of you're in enough of a balance where you're coming from a place of truth, you're coming from a place of justice, you're coming from a place of beauty, you're coming from a place of love. In extremely imbalanced times, such as those we're living in right now, just being that way seems extreme. So that, this is the kind of mind screw that the world out there is playing with people right now.
Yes.
And
Now,
it takes all of us. This is why we like to do community shows sometimes like this and just kind of hang out. It's a little looser, a little less formal or more informal. Take your pick. But we're all doing this together. I've learned so much, and I've refined so much of what I understand through rubbing shoulders with people I speak to on shows and the chat in the community. As we say here all the time, just because we're 2 guys up here who are on video doesn't mean, it's a symbiotic thing amongst all of us. So anyway, that's all to say that I'm sure that you represented everything that we've been building here and learning here together in this community very well on that show. But you were speaking about the Patrick Ryan show. So please let us know anything else about that.
Well, I mean, it went great. And if folks want to go check it out, I can find the link and add the link in the description. I see Coconut has joined us. Hello to you. And
Coconut is a long time listener, first time caller. I wonder if anyone will say that today, if we hear from anyone.
Coconut, would you like to come on either by way of a Skype call or the link to join us with Avatar on the screen? And I asked Finalblossom the same thing because he said he'd be happy to call in. Would you like Skype or would you like a link to be on the screen with us? 5 to 10 minutes, folks. And we will be chatting. Denny is with us. Hello to you. And yes, it's the Patrick Ryan show, also known as Dino. And you can find that show. I was supposed to be on for an hour, and I ended up giving him. In all fairness to me, I mean, I probably would have still kept talking, but in all fairness to me, he was very quiet coming through the phone. It was a phone interview, and I could barely hear him, and I certainly could barely hear him while my mouth was going 100 miles an hour. So I did apologize to him though after the fact, but yeah, we got to the hour mark and he said something like we're skipping the break or something. He said something to some control person maybe, or maybe the audience could hear it as well. But I thought, wow, okay, well, I'll just keep talking then. And we ended up going about an hour and a half. So it looks like Promethean Promulgation says that they're still live. He doesn't recognize the other 3. Well, that's great. That's a very honorable thing for Greg to do. We're grateful for that.
I just, you reminded me quickly, Jason, when you were mentioning the story about the red flag law. So I was at a range last Sunday, and I got into a conversation with a gentleman who, according to him, I have to take him at his word, but he had been a colonel in the armed forces, lifelong military man. He's an older guy. Said that he'd served in 4 wars. I guess started with probably Vietnam in his case, judging by his age.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he had testified in front of Congress before, and that this past week, just a few days ago, as of us airing this right now, he was going back down to D.C. to testify in front of Congress again, closed-door session. And there were people like Schumer there. the Kennedy guy who's not one of the Kennedy family. And Ted Cruz was another name that he mentioned. But it was the first time he was going as a civilian, Jason, because he had resigned. He didn't retire. He resigned from his post in the military. And he was telling me that he couldn't, he had to go through a different process. He didn't get into the nitty gritty, but just briefly mentioned he had to go through a bit of a different process because the day that he went to his commanding officer to file the proper paperwork and everything he has to do for resigning from his post and ending his career or a little earlier because they wanted him still there, even though, again, he's an older gentleman, of course, still in strategic and consulting kind of roles and all kinds of things his experience could bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So his commanding officer was a general, but he couldn't go and directly turn this into the general because that same day the general himself was resigning. And I might be getting this wrong, but I feel like he was saying that this general, his commanding officer, was going to go to this hearing as well. But essentially, the hearing was about this, and this is all I'll say about this. It's just food for thought, an interesting thing to note, and maybe some people are aware of this already. I don't know if I'm telling people things they already know, or you things they already know, you something you already know. But Congress is taking these hearings to get on record why there are currently so many high-ranking officers in our U.S. military who are doing exactly what this gentleman did and resigned as a colonel, and again, his commanding officer, general. It reminds me a bit, you're seeing a lot of things across the West. I don't know if any of you saw, there were something like 10 or 12 French generals that signed an open letter, a public letter several months ago to Macron and the French public about how disgusted they were at the choices being made in their country and things that were being done they felt that were irrevocably damaging it. And this gentleman seemed to be of the same ilk that I spoke to. So these mass resignations of high-ranking, lifelong career military men, and what is going on with that right now.
Indeed. What we are going to try and take is Elaine, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, Jason?
I sure can. Can everybody else hear Elaine? I hear a bit of an echo. Maybe that's coming through Jared.
You want to mute for a second?
Yeah, mute for a second and see if that goes away. How are you, sweet sister?
Oh, great. I guess the stream is kind of lagging behind, so I walked away from the computer. I'll catch up later because I don't want that blasting in the background when I'm trying to talk to you guys. How are you?
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're ecstatic, and it is joyous to be able to speak with you here on tap for the first time. It's wonderful. You have been such a champion of just unbelievable proportions in service to White Wellbeing, and have accomplished so much for us. We dearly love you, and you have been a self-starter. You have been industrious. I mean, and that word doesn't even come close to how much effort that we have seen you invest, and how many times that in using the lexicon, you have successfully manipulated the anti-whites into reporting on the things you were doing. And then them looking back, who knows how many people that you have successfully brought to White Wellbeing as a consequence, and how many more that you will continue to bring. But now it's your opportunity. The mic is yours. What would you like to talk about? What would you like to say? I mean, to the community. So many of these people here look up to you, and
thank you.
Please.
I'm honored. I'll say that you, Jared messaged me yesterday. I really I really appreciate it. And yeah, I just, trying to navigate through an anti-white world, and kind of, I think I have Chadar, because I can kind of tell the guys that are going to be receptive to our message. I mainly approach men, but sometimes I have really great success with women, with children, especially women, you know, and give them your cards and talk to them. And it's just kind of, you can just kind of tell when, and it doesn't mean that they're tall or anything like that. Some guys, you know, they just have that energy where you can tell they're going to be receptive to your message. I don't know what it is. I call it Chadar, but I don't know. But I usually, once in a while, I kind of make a mistake, and it's like, whoops, sorry, you know, and then I'll do that with, I have another friend here in town who helps me do the activism, because he's a big guy. He goes at night, you know, and it's a little bit safer for him to do a lot of this stuff, because, you know, people are crazy in this town. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just an anti-white, you know, and a lot of the people, like you say, are white themselves. That's the sad thing, you know, and I quit my job because of anti-whiteism. To just give you a quick update of my year, I mean, I just told my boss, like, this was when we had the COVID, you know, we went on leave for COVID, and I was working for a major retail place, and I just told my boss, no, I'm not going back, because I'm not going to worship at the altar of you-know-who, because, you know, it was right after those riots and stuff, and I'm just not doing it. And I told them, you know, I told her about all the hush crimes against our people, and, you know, getting all these messages saying that we have to mourn the loss of, you-know-who. And I'm like, no, we don't. You know, I'm just not going to tolerate that. And I worked with a lot of people who agreed with me. You find out later, like, yeah, Elaine, we feel the same way. And like you say, some of them aren't white. I'm running into people I used to tutor. I used to tutor at a local community college, and you can tell when they wear these certain shirts, that, you know, they're proud to, you know, express their Mexican heritage, but they're also proud to be an American. And when you talk to those people, they think it's ridiculous. They're like, Elaine, why do white people hate themselves so much? They ask me this question. I'm like, it's just brainwashing for generations, you know, and that's what I tell them. And so
that's
it's really
tragic.
You know, it's really fun that, you know, you can find, you know, run into all kinds of people who are sick of this, you know, anti-whiteism.
Well, and thank you for using all the proper concepts. It's so very important and powerful. And yet, you know, I'll throw in when it comes to this sort of thing. And in fact, when I was, you know, you're mentioning this, Elaine, when I was on with Patrick Ryan, the Patrick Ryan show, he mentioned some about, he was calling it the saint. You know, people have given them this name. We're not going to say the name because, of course, the ear is against the door. So the AI will crawl right over here in a heartbeat. But the reality is that this person, and these are just elements of the anti-white narrative. This is just another prop for the anti-white narrative, and it has nothing to do with a refusal or a rejection of wanting to participate in this kowtowing to another high point in the story of anti-whiteism, or however they would like to phrase that. You know, this new saint that they would like us to worship and bend a knee to is something that, of course, we should reject doing. That has nothing to do with whether or not, you know, we if somebody who's actually abused by police. I mean, I had a police officer beat the crap out of me when I was a young man, and
I read Crucible. I finished Crucible a couple of weeks ago. It's fabulous, and it brought up. It makes me want to write a memoir about all this, because I wasn't as you know, maybe I think women, like you say, we are a little bit more susceptible to the brainwashing. Maybe I'm not saying all, because some women have always been really aware of our, you know, whatever, all this anti-whiteism from birth practically, but I wasn't one of them. And it's just, you think you're like a cutting edge hipster saying, yeah, you know, and then you realize, no, we're just like tools for the anti-white establishment. What was I doing all those years? Just trying to, you know, just, we call it villainy signaling, but you could say virtue signaling. And I even had non-white coworkers kind of virtue signal to me saying, oh yeah, white people are just so less racist. You guys aren't racist, like, you know, when I go down to Mexico. I'm like, no, I said, you're talking about in-group preference. I said that white people have it too. We're just not allowed to express it. I said, I told her how I call it racist, by the way. I say racism and racist. I said, it's just an anti-white slur. I said, it's never going to be leveled at other groups, non-white groups, in the same way it is to us. And I said, we just keep moving. I said, we think we're going to move to another place. I said, but we have in-group preference too, but it doesn't mean that we dislike all non-white people. We just for our own communities. And they were like shocked, but I just had to be honest with them. Like, no, we're not better. We're not. They're like, oh, Elaine, you guys are just so much less racist and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, we're not. We're not better. We're not allowed to express that. Just being like being around people who speak our language, look like us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, precisely. Jared, go ahead.
I don't know if Elaine can hear me. Can you ask her just briefly what she said? She was more in the virtue signaling, if I heard correctly, when she was younger, of what brought her, if she's able to speak to that more in this direction and put these realizations together.
Did you hear that, Elaine?
Kind of. I know. Could you repeat it again? No, because I heard some of that.
Okay, so yeah, I was asking about when you were younger and you were a little bit more into doing, I guess, some of the virtue signaling, but maybe not as bad as some of the other females. Did you have any more that could elaborate on that?
Well, I was an amateur stand-up comedian for 5 years here in the Bay Area, Cook Central, and and I'll tell you, it's just ridiculous. I would sit there they call us every name in the book, every anti-white slur, and I don't mean just like the subtle ones. I mean like just really disgusting things about cave dwell. Well, you've heard all those. I don't want to use the all the horrible things that were genetically defective.
Yeah.
Finally, I just said, I was like, if you guys look at my video, it's kind of embarrassing because it's such cup cringe. But I have one video on YouTube that I would love to do a rebuttal on, and like a funny rebuttal, because I was like, I was saying like, oh, it's not all women, but actually it kind of is. But that's another, I'm kind of going off in a tangent about that now. But like, I would just listen to all these, and then finally I just said, aren't you guys the real racists? And they threatened to kill me. They threatened. Yeah. These are real people. These are not internet trolls. These are people that I did rooms with for like 5 years, and
wow.
Really. I don't want to get into the language they use, but it was just horrific. And it's a lot of white people that were on board with, yay, it's just basically. And I told them, you guys are actually participating in your own destruction. Have fun. And I've never done a mic since. I did a couple at coffee shops. And even then, the host was like, oh my God, you're so because I tried to bring up how ridiculous white privilege is when we have the privilege of being like, becoming a detested minority in our own neighborhoods. And a lot of people really like the material, but it's just a few people that really offended. So I stopped doing it because it's fun, but it's not worth getting killed. You know what I mean?
My gosh.
It really is that.
Well, you are such a gem.
And it's also the double standards for white men, but even white women. Like you say, we're on the chopping block too. If we're not completely anti-white, like if you go to these government offices, there's no white people working in hardly any of them, except unless they're completely anti-white, like where you could just tell from a mile away that they're anti-white. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just and their days are numbered too, because you can't be anti-white enough.
There you go. You got it. No wonder Elaine has been so active and been such a success for White Wellbeing. This is what it takes, and this is what by the.
Still get booked. These comics that you did all of that, they still get booked, and they're not even funny. Even the white comics would tell me, yeah, these people aren't that funny, but they just have to go along with it. So, in private, they would tell me they didn't think they were that funny. So it's probably that we have different senses of humor because we have different biospirits too, and you get sick of people telling you what a horrible person you are because you're white. That's another thing that's a little annoying. But a lot of it is just we just have a different, sense of humor probably. Like, you know what I mean? It's sort of inherently different.
I haven't thought about that before, but it's absolutely conceivable. As we see so many differences as a result of the different biospirits, that our humor would be at times different and possibly even at odds at times. But yeah, I want to ask you this before we let you go, at least this time, and I think we're definitely going to be doing more of these shows, and maybe we'll have you back as a regular guest by yourself, because you're fantastic. But I've noticed this when it comes to stand-up comedy lately, and not lately, but I mean maybe the past 10 years or 15 years or so. You'll have these comedians that will say, well, they're going to burn the sacred cows of today, and they're really going to make, and then they go out and they'll make maybe like one joke that really isn't very funny at all, and is actually quite complimentary of one or two non-white groups, and then they'll go bashing the hell out of the white race. Have you seen that as well?
Oh, constantly. I mean, that's for 5 years, and I think that this is where I really do think women tend to be a little bit more easily brainwashed, because just to get stage time, I listened to this crap for a long time and went along with it, and it's just, yeah, it's crazy. It really, as a matter of fact, the general theme of these feminists, and they call them the anti-whites who call themselves feminists, their comedy is basically like, yeah, can you believe it? These losers, these white guys that can't make it here, even with all their privilege. And you're just like, what? Imagine, and I know this is corny to say, well, what if white people, white people something about non-whites, but it is true. If we said anything, it's slightly that disrespectful towards non-white groups, you'd end up in a dumpster. You know what I mean? Let's face it. It's basically like an anti-white death cult, the comedy scene. I'm not kidding. It's that bad, Jason.
My gosh.
It's that bad. You can't say anything unless you're bashing white people, especially white men, of course, are, number one, the easiest target. And it's just, the idea that we have privilege is the biggest myth of our time.
You're so right. We are absolutely 100% going to have you as a regular guest. We'll get you somewhere where you have a strong internet connection, and we'll get you up on the screen with Jared and I at some point in the future. You are one of the absolute best, sister.
Did I answer Jared's question? I know, just kind of just going along with it, just to get, like I said, to get stage time or maybe get a job or a promotion. You just say, and of course I never got the promotion because you don't speak Spanish. You're just not anti-white enough. You'll never. And I have a master of public health, and I wouldn't be able to get a job in public health to save my life around here. I mean, seriously, I wouldn't, because it's like there's just all this criteria. You have to go with the CRT, anti-white indoctrination. If you're not down with that, then you're out,
Wow. Well, bless you. Thank you so much for calling in today. And we're absolutely going to have you back. Thank you for everything you do. Promethean hails to you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye, Jared. Bye, Jason. Thanks a lot. I'm enjoying your show as usual. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye, Elaine.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Elaine Sabatino, ladies and gentlemen.
Never heard her voice before. It was nice to hear from her.
Yes. I mean, wasn't that something? What absolute positive energy she had. We attract it. You know what happens with, you have maybe do like maybe a bit of comedy, but you have ideas, you have ideologies that are white negative, and they're like manure, and they attract flies, and we attract. We're like this.
Are we the honey? What are we gonna?
We are like the butterfly bushes, and we attract all of the gorgeous butterflies and the hummingbirds and everything, just wonderful, and the bees.
I think that was more stand-up poetry than stand-up comedy. But
that's true.
I'll go with it either way. We'll leave
Elaine could make it funny. She could make it funny one way or the other. But what positive energy she had, didn't she, Jared?
You can hear it. You can hear it.
You could absolutely hear. This was somebody who is righteously indignant. And here I was having a conversation. We're going to pull up a true gem, ladies and gentlemen, Finalblossom, in one moment. He's going to be joining us. Another champion that's done so much for white well-being. Just one moment. But I mean, I was having this conversation about emotion and the role that emotion plays in service to white well-being. And there are people out there actually trying to prevent you from experiencing and feeling emotion. Now, anybody who is trying to steer you down a path that will inhibit you, that will undermine your energy, that will undermine your passion. There has never been a political movement in history, a socio-political movement, a religious movement. There's never been a movement that was dispassionate. So I mean, you just look at, it's never happened. Nobody has ever accomplished anything dispassionately. So anybody trying to get you to be dispassionate is a subverter. Open your eyes, folks. But we're going to bring forward for 5 to 10 minutes the one and only, ladies and gentlemen, Finalblossom now joins us. Hello, dear brother. How are you?
Hello. How do I sound?
Perfect. Your mic is very clear.
Yep. Hello.
Hello, Jared.
Nice to speak and welcome. Again, I feel like the psychologist. What's on your mind?
Well, something that's not directly associated with white well-being has been on my mind for the past couple weeks.
All right.
A potentially lucrative investment that I've been researching.
Really? Are you going to share, or is that just you just want to give us a little tidbit there?
Yeah, I can share a little bit of information on it.
Okay.
It's a cryptocurrency.
Oh.
And it's in a way it's aligned with the Western biospirit because it's designed to reward you more for staking your coins for a certain period of time. So the longer you stake them, the more potential you can get in return.
So it's discouraging people to just trade quickly daily and get in and out of it if they see the first sign of a dip.
Right. You can stake it for up to 15 years and get, they say around 36% interest per year on the currency itself, and that's ignoring the potential of the price appreciation. It just came out in December of 2019. It's called Hex.
I've heard a little about that. Yeah, it's who's the entrepreneur who started that?
It's Richard Hart.
Yeah.
He's kind of a eccentric guy. He's kind of funny, but he seems like he's a genuine person that wanted to create something meaningful.
So, well, if you're sharing this with the chat here, what kind of research have you done that makes you feel comfortable with it, and that it could be wise to look into that?
Well, I've been looking into cryptocurrency for a couple years now. A friend of mine was really interested in Chainlink specifically, and I've made a good return on that in the past couple of years. And one of my criteria it's a simple criteria for looking at cryptocurrency potential is just looking at the price chart. And like Chainlink, for example, if you look at the long-term trend, it looks like you could fit a nice exponential curve to it. Of course, that's not a guarantee of the future price, but it is an indicator. And I see something similar with Hex. And what I think makes Hex potentially more lucrative than Chainlink right now is just that it's newer, so it has a lot more potential near-term growth to experience.
I have been very interested in crypto, brother. Do you follow closely a number of cryptocurrencies? And have they? I mean, do you see an opportunity for, I guess swing trading? I think it's called when it comes to cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of swing trading at all, but
What could
yeah,
you tell us why?
I'm more of why you said.
Yeah. Okay.
Just I don't want to make that my focus. Looking at that daily, looking at charts daily, but
Yeah.
Right.
and it's risky. I mean, I could have done that with Chainlink potentially because it hit $50 like 4 months ago or so, and now it's back down to 30. But it's my belief that that's just a short-term decrease. So I think it's going to hit 50 probably again around the end of this year, and then it's up from there.
We actually have a question from Groundhog Fury.
Groundhog is here. I sent you an email, Groundhog.
If he wants to burrow out and appear for a few minutes, perhaps himself. But we can apply this to Hex, I think would be appropriate for what you're talking about, Finalblossom. But he says, one simple test of crypto, asks the founder, if the government came to you and told you to shut it down, could you? So how does Hex stand up to that? Or do you think that that's a valid criterion to begin with?
Yeah, I'm not a super expert on this, but my understanding is that you would pretty much need to shut down the internet entirely to destroy Hex. Because the way that blockchains work is, and again, I'm not a super expert on this, but it can be duplicated across tons of different computers all over the world. Mm-hmm. So it's almost impossible to destroy it.
Yeah. I know when Carl was on, Carl
Mhm.
Thornburn, back in February or maybe the very end of January of this year, because he speaks a lot about crypto. We had an episode of the After Party that just had him as a guest and focused on crypto and finance. I think he said Monero offered the best amount of privacy, wasn't as traceable, and that it was popular in a lot of our circles because of that. Do you know anything about that? Are you able to speak to that?
I don't know anything about Monero
Well,
personally.
no. Yeah, I was just curious as a kind of aside. I know someone, at least someone in the chat, is also going to raise eyebrows about the name Hex, and I'm sure there's a conspiracy theory about that somewhere about how.
If you look at the their website, it's they have 6 main points or pillars behind what Hex was designed for. So I guess that's why they called it Hex.
It's probably not helping. That bit of information probably is not helping people.
Yeah, it's not a nice sounding word. I
looking
understand.
askance at it. Yeah, it is an interesting choice. And there, you can go down rabbit holes, as we all know, online and see all of these different theories about the powers that be and people in positions of power and what they're really doing and symbols and double messages they're putting out there. I'm not saying I feel that way. I'm just saying, because we're just having a conversational show and talking with our chat, I know that kind of thing will be on people's minds.
I had a question, actually, if you remember, Jared, when Entropy was first started, and I intentionally pressed them publicly so that they could immediately speak to, because they seem like a good group of folks in other conversations, and we spoke to them on video and like normal folks up there, and so I said, please tell us, why is it entropy? Why is, because people were already going to, you just knew they were going to start saying, well, this is how they wear away the energy and they dissipate it into nothingness. That's how they make us nothing. Here's a trap platform. But of course, they've ended up being wonderful, and they're growing, which is a wonderful thing. And we are up running live on Entropy right now. You can post questions over there as well, and you can ask by tagging us in the live chat as well. I think we have one on deck to come up next, and maybe one more after that. I'll see who spoke up first, and but we're gonna have to do this again, because I know folks weren't ready for this, and so they're suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, we can actually get on the show. We could call to get on the show. We could come on over Skype to get on the show, or we could receive the link to get on the show. So if we do these community focused shows, and you see that in the title, ladies and gentlemen, that's your cue if you want to participate to get in. But I want everybody to know, before we give Finalblossom opportunity for his final thoughts, that this is Finalblossom. This is the guy who has done just amazing videos, amazing work in so many different ways, images, still images, videos, rocks he painted as well, and so many things now, signage, graphic design. We could just go on and on. Finalblossom has been at the forefront, making these audio videos where people are reading the audio out of Going Free, and then that, of course, some of that picked up by others and then magnified and collaborated. So this, and I like to say about Finalblossom that he lives about, I don't know, somewhere between 30 seconds and 5 minutes ahead of us in the future. So somehow he's able to do that, and he's able to get to things first, even before I think what I need, he's already has it made. So let's get a round of raucous emojis for both Elaine and Finalblossom. But brother, any final thoughts you have before we let you go on this episode, at least, of a community-focused show of TAP?
Well, to counter your belief that I live in the future, I just am involved in this community a lot, so I think a lot about it. And if I have an idea that I think I have the ability to do and time to do, something that I think that's going to benefit the community, I will go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and folks, Finalblossom was the one who went back to a 50-year-old dictionary and found anti-white and anti-whiteism, and that began the hunt for the dictionaries that had not had those words purged from their pages. And the reason why, when I was back in 1994 hunting, did not find them, and so many of you do not find anti-white and anti-whiteism, but we are pushing it back. We are making it happen. It's showing up everywhere. I'm getting messages every single day, numerous messages from big places. It's happening, and it's all because of the work that every single one of us are doing, and this great gentleman right here, Finalblossom, not the least of the true champions. We love you, brother. Promethean hails to you.
Yep, Promethean hails.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye. Nice speaking to you.
Yep, bye.
That was the one and only. Jared, we definitely have to do more of these. This is a heck of a lot of fun to be able to talk to.
Yeah,
champions.
I agree. I just texted you about someone else who would have to do a phone call like Elaine, but that worked fine. Just holding speakerphone up to the mic. I heard it fine. Chad heard it fine. You might have to repeat my question sometimes to the person on the other end of the line like you did with Elaine, but that's not a big deal.
Well, we could do that because I think Coconut was, I had asked Coconut if she wanted to participate, and it looks like if she can, then sister, do you have, do you already have my number? And if so, you could just call the phone.
Or a way to DM. If not, if you
right. Do you have me on DM, direct message? I can't remember what platform we are on together, Twitter or where would you have my email? Tag me in the live chat. Let me know and what platform we're on together so I know where to look. And then if you do not have my number, I can give you my number. I think you should have my number though. Coconut and her wonderful husband are magnificent champions in service to white well-being. So the next 5 minutes goes to the one and only Elrondur, who's going to speak to us about Tucker's impact on the German-speaking sphere. Tucker Carlson's impact on the German-speaking sphere. And I'm going to place that call over Skype right now.
That's an interesting angle.
Yes.
I saw people talking about Tucker in the chat, but I've never heard about his effect outside of the United States.
Well, we're going to find out right now. Elrondur, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. How are you today?
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
It's a glorious day here in the once great state of Virginia, but it's wonderful being on with all of the champions, being able to do this community conversation that we've not done before. But you wanted to tell you're all the way many hours ahead of us, I presume.
Yes.
In Deutschland.
It is about 11 p.m. here in Germany. So.
Well, and you have, and you've been, of course, in our live chats forever. So thank you so much for your service to white well-being. And you wanted to talk about Tucker Carlson and his effect out there in the German-speaking sphere.
Yes, exactly. First of all, it's nice to finally talk with you and Jared on air. I'm a big fan. I follow your work for many years now. And nice to have the opportunity to finally meet you online, so to speak to you.
Very nice. Thank you. Same.
I mean, you have to keep in mind, just a few years ago, right? The German, not only German, but German-speaking sphere, they had no idea what was going on in America or the English-speaking sphere. They were very German-centric, looking only on what is going on in Germany, the big thinkers in Germany, and so on. But I was one of the few who made people more aware of the English-speaking sphere and what we can learn from America, especially because all these anti-white thoughts, CRT, white critical whiteness studies, which they call themselves, right? They gave them these names. I was making people aware of many good YouTubers and how we can pick up their aesthetics a little bit more because they were ahead of the curve, so to say. But now, like, we had this one video a few months ago where Tucker used the word anti-white, and it was shared all around the German sphere, right? Even in the patriotic sphere, which you would call like maybe it's comparable to normal Republicans here. So it's not only just the new right that was sharing these videos and the rhetoric that Tucker used, like anti-white, right? It was also shared amongst normal patriots. I think that has to do with the Trump effect, that many people watched Tucker and so on because of what was going on there. But now there is a unity now going on with the English-speaking sphere, especially on this whole attack on white people. It's not just, people came to the realization that it was not just an attack on German people, on British people, on Swedish people, and so on, but it was an attack on the whole of Western kind, right? On European people. And that was great. So it's already established this your vocabulary, so to say, and I'm happy to share that info with you. So,
wow, how exciting is that? That is truly remarkable. Yeah, we need to get this. I mean, do you think you could translate, or do you know somebody who could translate into German the lexicon? Wasn't Roy working on translating the lexicon as well? I mean, we have so many champions. Yeah.
Yes. I had someone who I was in contact with who wants to do this thing. We also have another guy here who has done very similar work to you. What was his name again? But he's basically deconstructing the new left rhetoric, right? He was doing it before, and he was lately republishing his book from, I think, 2014. And he also used the word anti-white now, because this is now
nice.
Coming here from America for, like, I would say 1.5 years.
Oh my gosh.
They're fully established now here they are teaching that in German universities now as well. So he has made an update. So he has already, not in the perfect way, but in a similar way, he has basically published a new book of that. So I'm still, talking to him if it still makes sense to translate your book, and then we will probably publish that in a bookstore that is very popular in the German-speaking sphere, that has context to the identitarian movement here.
Well, Jared would like, in private, this guy's name, if he speaks English, and as a potential guest as well. If you could send that to me on Skype. Any information, that would be fabulous. How exciting is that? Yes. Anti-white, Antiwhiteism, Western kind, anti-white narrative, white erasure. We get 5 key concepts. If we can get that rolling in Germany, as we're getting it rolling in other places, certainly the English-speaking world, that would be magnificent, because it is, when it comes right down to it, we've all got to come together as a single people with many countries. It's not just anti-German. It's not just anti-English. It's not just anti-Italian. It is anti-white, and we are not going to succeed until we see it for what it really is. It's because in all of these other cases we can escape. And white people will do that. They will escape. If you give them an opportunity to run away, and not identify with something which the anti-whites have already brought us up to believe doesn't really exist. White people will do that. They have to realize, no, it's intrinsic. You can't escape it. It's who you are. You can't be anti-white enough, as Elaine was just saying in the phone call 2 ago. But wow, magnificent. And we'll definitely have to have you back, Elrondur, for some more conversation, some more input about what's going on in there. But what an absolutely invigorating white pill this is, that the work that we're doing in service to white well-being is spreading in Germany. Isn't that remarkable? God bless you, brother. That is magnificent. Yes. Please.
One last thing, maybe.
Yes.
Recently, Tucker used the word great replacement, and the generation identity also took that as a metapolitical success from them spreading their message, France, that word was established, to America. So there's also overlaps from here, our impact to America, right? Talking about the Great Replacement. And I just find it fascinating. One more thing I want to add is what we had before is, for example, this anti-German. You have to understand that many people think of the concept like anti-German, which is Antifa. They are anti-German all over the place, but they always had the excuse of that being just a civic nationalist kind of critique of the German people. It has nothing to do with race, right?
Right.
When you talk about race, this is the funny thing. The people who are these anti-whites, they will use the English translation of their concept, like CRT. They're calling it CRT, critical race theory, even in German, because if they would use the word in German, the German word for race is Rasse. No German would be up for that, because this concept of race is completely the word is so how can I say it in English? It is so demonized, right?
Demonized, yes.
Yeah, they can't use it, so they have to use the English word. But now we can openly talk about this is an attack on our race, on our people. It is biological as well as culturally, and they don't have the civic nationalist excuse that they are just critiquing some nefarious thing, right? Which they always make. So this is great that they finally, attack us on our race, right?
It is great that they finally attack, because it's the hubris, brother. It's the hubris.
Yeah.
They control so much now that, and there are so many people. I mean, let's be realistic. 50 years ago, there were intelligent anti-whites. Now the ones anti-whites in charge, they have equality has done them in, and they just cannot stop themselves. But we're gonna let you go, brother. We'll have you back soon. Stay in touch with me on Skype.
Nice speaking to you. Thanks for having me.
Nice speaking with you, brother. Promethean hails to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, that is magnificent, isn't it, Jared? Let me make an adjustment over here on the
Yeah,
phone.
that was great to hear what's going on in the German-speaking world as well. Obviously, Elrondur couldn't hear me, but please send him my regards. It was great to speak to him. I've noticed that name. We've known that name for a long time.
Yeah, we sure
Nice to
have.
hear some good news. And the activist he spoke about, we'll have to get a little more information on if he aligns with our ethics and what we're about, and he speaks English, because unfortunately, I only know a tiny, tiny bit of German. Jason and I don't know German, so if he speaks English, then maybe we can have a show with the gentleman that he spoke about, that Elrondur spoke about.
Yeah, I would really like to do that. I mean, talk about an invigoration that was unexpected. That
we're getting some surprises today, including in the chat. But we'll take care of that. If anyone's wondering, it's not, obviously we banned the account, but there's some kind of spam bot. The technology, the pesky technology.
A pesky technology. I'm not. Maybe that'll help. Very good. Well, we had, and I'll take another look at that in just a second to see what ends up working or not. But we have the next in line. Well, let's do these financial gifts. We're actually at the end. We're actually at the end of the TAP episode.
So long, farewell.
But we will do this again because it was glorious. It was a heck of a lot of fun. My gosh. But I know we had Roy, who was potential to come on. I think he mentioned, so was Slots. And then Coconut as well. And I never did receive a message. But Coconut, we're going to make it happen next time. We're going to have you on, sister. We'll hold up the phone just like we did with Elaine. So I don't think this coming week, maybe the week after, we'll do this all over again. And we'll have a fantastic time. But over here on Entropy, we've got a few to speak to. 3 Canadian bacon dollars given to us by RemRep. Thank you so very much. And says, Ohio, NWG Sama. and George San. So maybe I was supposed to read that a certain way, and it would have said something that I'm missing. But either way, we thank you for those 3 Canadian bacon dollars.
I'll just take the Canadian bacon.
I know it. It's fantastic. It's magnificent. Next week, Coconut. Next week, a week after next. Next week, we'll probably just do a regular guest, and then the week after, we'll do this again, and we'll have you on. Everybody, get your raucous emojis together for the one and only Some White Guy, who just financially gifted $100.
Thank you.
$100. And this, of course, Some White Guy is Biospirit of the West, ladies and gentlemen, a true champion in service to white well-being. He says, hi, Jason and Jared. This is Biospirit of the West under my other username. I've been remiss in making a donation to the after party before, so here you go. May we all reject anti-whiteism and embrace white well-being. Promethean hails. Well, big Promethean hails to you.
Very kind. Very kind.
Yeah, a great champion, a great leader in service to white well-being is Biospirit of the West. And then we have right here $3 financial gift from Rory, a great friend from across the pond. Thank you so much, brother. He writes, Dear Jason, my son has a degree in classics from Trinity College, Cambridge. If you asked him nicely, he might translate the lexicon into Latin and ancient Greek. Oh my gosh. Please. That would be magnificent. Listen, iteration 2, folks, is right at the doorstep. It's coming through the door right now as we speak, and chock full of more powerful MCs for everybody, and far more information, 100 more pages. It's a glorious edition. If you have the Kindle version, you should be able to download the iteration 2, not another purchase. If you want of course, a printed copy, you'll have to get a new printed copy. But we are expanding, and something like translating into Latin and ancient Greek would really be remarkable, Rory. That would be wonderful. So go ahead, please ask your son for that, and at the same time, you can turn him on to Going Free. I'm sure after he works through all that material, he'll be such a lover for white well-being that you won't be able to stop him. We also had Jay Link in the questions. He writes, I'm so pumped but someone ended up being just an imposter, my brother. Remember, that was an imposter. And he says, is Roman Empire living how can an Italian? No, nobody thinks that. If somebody is saying that to you, then just laugh it off, my friend, and move right along. But yeah, that person was an imposter. But thank you nonetheless. I'm going to swivel around to here, and we're going to make sure we didn't miss anybody on. It looks like we didn't. So thankfully, we got everyone. But a big raucous round of emojis. Rep, Biospirit of the West, and Rory Herbert financially gifting today. Well, Jared, this was a heck of a lot of fun.
It was. And we will be doing more of these soon.
We will. So, folks, next time you see that in the title of our show, our tap show, if it says something like community chat, spotlighting you, or something of that nature, get ready to get involved. And we do know that next on the list are going to be, if they want to, next time, Roy and Coconut and Slots are all next if they want to participate.
We already have it lined up.
Got it lined up. But Mr. George, final thoughts from you, brother?
Well, it's just great. We always get these surprises. It just goes to show there's a lot of bad news people take in on social media. We talk about this a lot. You have to pace yourself. You have to take in things that are just like food, take in things that are nourishing you as well. But we have these surprises. Every time we talk to people and do this informal sort of thing, there's these little bits of information and wins and triumphs that we didn't know about, or people give more of the context of their story and what led them here, and kind of activism they're doing, or people whose lives they're affecting and minds they're changing. It's great. So just want to say that we appreciate all of that. Jason and I have the afterparty.tv, of course, as our shared website. This show going free, and some of our other media is cataloged there. 3.5 years now. You could search different topics, different guests, see what we've spoken about in the past. A lot of interesting information that you can parse through with all the different guests we've spoken to in the last 3.5 years. My own site is thegreatorder.com. I also post these shows there, and it's the catalog for all else I do, the creative endeavors, the music, ways to contact and connect with me on social media. So please check out thegreatorder.com. But other than that, I wish everyone well. I hope you're having an enjoyable and healthy weekend with your loved ones, and that it continues. And if you're isolated, some of us are, maybe because of COVID, maybe because of other things, then you keep turning up here. We're all in this together. We're all helping each other, as we were speaking to that theme a little bit earlier in the show tonight. But sending my love, sending my best. I know Jason does too, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yes, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for your service to White Wellbeing. And thank you all for making this community spotlight so much fun. Jared and I thought, hey, this would be a good idea. We'll do this again. We'll talk to a few folks, and didn't realize how exciting it would be, and really heartwarming it is to be able to come together with you all and hear your voices and hear your thoughts. And we will do this. We will do this again very soon. A big thank you to everybody who participated today. Big thank you to those who were just watching in the background as well. Thank you to all of you who financially gifted, and for everybody who came on and wanted to have a conversation with us. We look forward to doing that again. And I love you all. You all know that. We'll see you all back again.